Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. Your boy Crawford is in shape. You can see he's starting to sculpt. Make sure he's going to be in tip-top shape when he gets in that ring with Canelo. Good job to Crawford. Anyway, welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence, Crawford, and Canelo. Man, oh man, oh man. My question is, I'm going to just get right to the chase, man. Should Terence Crawford be pushing for stringent VADA testing? And how does the Shakur Stevenson win benefit Terence Crawford? So let's just understand this. For those people who are saying, oh, we need to worry about Terence Crawford. No, you don't, man. I get it. The snack program, all of these different, strength and conditioning coaches and nutritionists, the Heredias, the Usman Sajads, the Victor Contis. I get it. Makes you wonder why somebody would go work with someone who can supposedly, they got this magic potion that can help you perform better than guys who are just, doing things naturally and organically. So I do think it's fair to ask those questions. But one thing for sure is Crawford's already taken a proactive stance by enrolling in VADA. Okay, he's already had multiple tests. So what I think is it shows that he's having that public transparency and pushing for VADA testing. To me, it only makes sense. Now, I think Crawford has a bit of a strategic advantage here. Well, we all know the shit that's been going on at Eddie Reynoso's camp. It's just very unfortunate, right? And Eddie Reynoso tried to distance himself from his fighters who've tested positive for Peds. But for me and Terence Crawford, I think Crawford's leading the charge. And in leading the charge, I think he positions himself and he foot stomps to the entire boxing fraternity that, look, I'm a multiple division undisputed champion for a reason. And I did it being a clean athlete. And I'm going to tell you, that matters. Big time, especially for him and Canelo. Seeing that you're talking about a $200 million fight that's at stake. No pun intended, you know what I'm saying? Canelo and the goddamn Mexican beef. But my thing is, they can't afford to lose out on this payday. Even though Crawford's got money, Canelo's got money, Canelo don't want to lose out on $100-something million payday. Crawford don't want to lose out on the damn near $100 million payday. That's just not something that they want to do. So, if there's any temptation, I would think it'd be more from Canelo, because really he can't lose. Crawford loses, he destined to be great before he retired, and he lost, and he made huge money. But for Canelo, he can't afford to lose. So if you ask me, who may be more inclined to try to get a bit of an advantage, I'd tell you Canelo. And also because Canelo's with Reynoso, and Reynoso had so many guys pop dirty. If it was Bomac and his camp and his fighters testing positive, I'd be saying the same shit about Bomac. But it's not Bomac, so don't make this shit into a race thing or a country thing. Like this is not what my channel's about. You know that. We keep it real over here. We don't agree. But, one thing for sure with me, I'm not going to just come out here and be blowing smoke. But that's how I see it. And for those who are like, what happened with Canelo? Back in 2018, he tested positive for clenbuterol, where he claimed he ate contaminated meat. That's why I was making a comment about the steak. But he is enrolled in VADA now, so that's a good thing for Canelo. And I just think, to avoid any controversy, I just think there should be additional scrutiny. And I think that additional scrutiny gives Terence Crawford a mental edge. Because Crawford's not the one that's got to worry about anything. It's really Canelo. As far as being harassed, as far as all the interviews, as far as the fans. Like, look, I'm doing this video and I'm talking about it. So Canelo's a guy who's probably going to feel a shift from fans to apply pressure on Canelo to ensure some kind of accountability. And I think that's why Terence Crawford is being applauded for ensuring there's some kind of testing. Because if he didn't do that, everybody be saying Terence Crawford is a Omaha, Nebraskan fool if he got into this fight with Canelo and there was no type of testing at all. In particular, the VADA testing. Because it matters at all times, but especially for this fight. You got to understand Crawford's moving up 2 weight classes. That's a pretty big deal. So any suspension of Peds could overshadow his legacy if the testing isn't airtight. That's for Crawford and for Canelo. And with Victor Conte, working with Crawford, look, there's always going to be an emphasis on a clean sport, because I think pushing that narrative is part of the snack camp's identity. But not everybody buys that shit, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, pushing for stringent VADA testing isn't just smart. I think for Crawford it's strategic, and I think it plays to his advantage. It protects the integrity of the fight. I think it reinforces Crawford's reputation. Look, the last thing Crawford needs is to flop somehow with this testing shit. They already don't want to give this man any credit. Could you imagine if Crawford somehow returned an adverse finding, even if it's found to be corrupted or some shit, or was compromised in some way? They would never let that go. So for me, I just think he keeps a spotlight on Crawford's skills, making sure he's doing the VADA testing, everything comes back clear, and there's no suspicion. But with Canelo, it keeps a spotlight on him, not just for his skills and what he brings to the table, but it's like, okay, it's like people are just on the edge waiting. They're just waiting to get an adverse finding from Canelo. But hey, he and Reynoso created the situation. No, it's no one else to blame but the Guadalajara, Jalisco natives. I think they both from Guadalajara, Jalisco. They created this shit, you know what I'm saying? That's why Canelo's just there in the shadows kind of breezing. Now, some are saying, get my glasses, man. I forgot I had them here. They're like, yo, man, why make Canelo be feeling pressure from what Eddie Reynoso has going on? Look, man, shit's heating up over there in the Eddie Reynoso camp. The reputation's at risk. All of Eddie Reynoso's fighters, the guys who tested positive, and even the guys who didn't test positive, reputations are at risk. Even though with the Canelo clenbuterol case, it was attributed to tainted meat. Look, the growing list of positive tests in Reynoso camps makes it hard to shake off the suspicion that Canelo was doing something as well. Right? I'm not saying this to take a jab at Canelo. We're all adults here, right? I looked at the demographic of people who watch my videos. They know it's 24 to 30 something, 40 something to something, and then 51 or something. So we got all adults in here. That's just the truth. There's a lot of suspicion that is back again on Canelo. He can't shake it off because the public perception. Look, you got guys like ADELEYE. He's out here really taking it to the stupid, man, and openly questioning Eddie Reynoso and questioning Canelo, man, talking about that gym, saying, look, somebody's guilty in that camp. And, I'll be honest with you, man, I tend to agree with Oscar De La Hoya. From where there's smoke, there's fire. Simple. But you better believe, man, that shit, that kind of talk can rattle even the most composed fighter like a guy like Canelo. That's not what he needs going into this fight. No distractions. How does that affect his psychology? It's like I was telling about Turki Al-Sheikh and Shakir Stevens and Tom and Jerry fighting in the small ring. That affects a fighter's psychology. But the legacy's at stake, $200 million. Let me tell you something, man. Canelo knows what he's up against, so I think Canelo is going to do the right thing. But I will say this. Canelo is enrolled in VADA, so he may not be afraid. He's got that veteran confidence. He's dealt with shit like this before. And we saw how he handled it in and out the ring. And when it comes to Eddie Reynoso, look, man, he's come out and distanced himself from nutrition and supplements, saying he's just a trainer. I don't really respect that because he's the guy calling the shots over there. But it is what it is. Anyway, man, let's see what happens when these two get in the ring. I just think a guy like Reynoso, coaching credibility. With Shakir Stevenson, look, what Shakir Stevenson did this weekend was outstanding. but the credibility of his coaches is just shot through the roof. With Canelo, the credibility of his coach Reynoso, it's been slammed pretty hard. In addition to that, one of the coaches for Shakur Stevenson and guy who helped him prepare was Terence Crawford. All right, so when you think about that, especially during those early rounds, Shakur showed elite fight IQ, and Crawford had everything to do with that. And you just think that as far as Crawford as a tactical mentor, I think he's just going to build off of that momentum that Shakur gained as a result of clipping Zepeda, and now Crawford's going to take and run with that. So, yeah, I think Crawford stands to gain, in my opinion, a strategic and symbolic motivation. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Terence Crawford looking like a beast right now. Where is that? Right here. Man, looking like a beast. He's getting ready, y'all. Don't know what direction the fight's gonna go, but he's looking. He's definitely looking good, man. We haven't seen shit about Canelo, but again, they probably want to stay out the spotlight because there's nothing positive going on around that camp anyway. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.